the orange of the sunset behind the clouds colored her face in lively pink that made her look a lot less fucked up, and I knew she really was. And I was afraid that her damp hair was making her cold without her hoodie, so I removed my jacket and brought it around her body, draping it over her shoulders. "How do you feel?" I whispered as I secured the jacket in the front so the chill wouldn't get to her.
"Tired mostly,"
she rasped out, gazing into my eyes, and slipping her arms in the sleeves, and just basically swimming in my jacket since she was so much smaller. I frowned, realizing that we couldn't sleep for at least 5 more hours. She dropped her gaze to her lap and began pushing the sleeves up, playing with her fingers.
"But I've had worse."
She glanced up at me from under lashes. But it wasn't flirting, or any shit like that, it looked a whole fucking lot like anger. And even though I was so fucking glad to see her get angry over it rather than sad, I didn't want to go there. So I changed the subject. "It's going to be the fucking Spanish Inquisition later," I told her honestly, taking the hands from her lap in mine. She nodded in understanding.
"I already got a taste of it on the car ride home with Esme,"
she rasped with a small smile, shaking her head.
"I might have used my condition as a distraction."
She chuckled drowsily. And I fucking smiled, loving my girl a little bit more for being so goddamn crafty. She made an attempt at clearing her sore throat before looking at me with a sad expression.
"It was so much worse than any of the other times,"
she croaked quietly. And the way she was looking into my eyes, it seemed like she was just fucking begging for me to understand.
"And I'm so thankful that you found me."
She smiled sadly, squeezing my hand in hers firmly.
"But I'm so sorry that it's causing us so much trouble."
She frowned. And I had to just fucking stop her right there. Bullshit. Fuck all those other people. I narrowed my eyes at her, slightly offended that she was even apologizing for it. They don't matter. They can ask all the goddamn questions they want. And if we didn't want to answer them, we didn't fucking have to. I softened my face and gazed into her big brown eyes, while I released one hand, using it to move a lock of damp hair away from her forehead. "I'd do it again a fucking heartbeat," I replied honestly. "And I really fucking would." She smiled sweetly at me as I leaned in to put my lips on hers softly and gently, afraid of hurting her face. I cupped her little cheek gingerly, taking her bottom lip in between mine and basking in all of our weird electricity as I sucked on it gently. I pulled back minutely, letting our slightly parted lips hover over each other so that they were just barely touching, and opened my eyes to look into hers. And my girl was looking at me with so much fucking love in her big brown eyes that I decided it was time to finally showing her all of mine. "Because I fucking love you," I whispered honestly against her lips, gazing intensely into her eyes to show her just how fucking honest I was being about it. I felt the sharp intake of her breath as I held my lips against hers and watched her eyes grow wide with the weight of my confession. And then it fucking happened. The beauty of the sunset behind me paled in comparison to hers as her whole fucking face lit up under my lips with her smile. And the way her eyes just fucking shone with happiness made me smile right back against hers. It was even better than I had imagined on Christmas morning, as the space between us grew impossibly more electrified with all of my girl's radiance. She threw her little arms around my neck and pressed our faces closer, crushing her lips to mine, still fucking smiling. I tried to kiss her back a little more gently, still afraid of hurting her nose, though she really didn't seem to give a shit about it at the moment. I chuckled against her lips, pulling myself back from her death grip. Because there was something I had been just fucking dying to do, and now I finally could. I lifted a hand to the collar of my shirt and dipped it inside, retrieving the silver chain around my neck that held the clattering my girl gave me. I slid it out and pulled it over my neck, fucking loving the way her face lit up even more at the thought of what I was about to do. She was almost bouncing on the picnic table as I unclasped the chain with a smile and took the ring off of it. I never removed my gaze from her shining eyes as I slipped the ring on my right hand ring finger, with the heart facing inward towards my body, just like it was fucking meant to be when someone had captured the wearer's heart. And I knew, because I wikied that shit in computer lab that afternoon. I smiled wider. as she vibrated more with her excitement and crushed my face back to hers, still being a little fucking careless with her nose, as we smiled against each other's lips, trying to hold it back long enough to get one good kiss in. I pulled back with another chuckle, more than satisfied with her reaction. Her cheeks were white and red, and her huge smile was probably hurting her face a little, but she didn't care. Some movement over her shoulder alerted me, shifting my gaze away from her face, and back towards the houses, whereas me and Carlisle stood between them. Fucking waiting. Bella slowly turned her head to follow my gaze over her shoulder. When she turned back, her smile was on in a way that made me want to frown and just fucking tell her I loved her all over again. I didn't get to see it long enough. She bit her lip.
What do I say when everybody asks what we are?
She rasped uncertainly. I backed up from between her legs and grabbed her by the waist, helping her down off the table and steadying her when she swayed a bit. I took her hand in mine and turned us around to the houses where our parents were waiting. I turned my head to look down at her by my side, still gazing up at me with an uncertain expression, and biting her lip. Tell them to stop being so fucking nosy or your boyfriend will shove his foot up their ass. I smirked. And the smile immediately returned, all fucking big and making her eyes alight with the pleasure of me calling myself her boyfriend. I smiled back, and led my girl off the gazebo, just really fucking pleased that now she really was my girl, in every sense of the word. She rubbed the ring on my finger in her hand, as we made our way up the yards, stopping when we reached Carlisle and me, who were glancing at us even more curiously. She slid my jacket off and handed it to me with a knowing look. Because we fucking knew that they wouldn't ruin our mood, as we smiled, walking away back to our houses, to meet the Spanish fucking Inquisition. Emmett was waiting for us by the door, when we walked in, looking flustered as Carlisle passed him. Would somebody please tell me what the hell is going on? He asked in a really fucking annoyingly near whine. I rolled my eyes and just walked up the stairs behind Carlisle. Dealing with Daddy C was bad enough, I'd let Emmett get his information from Brandon, or some shit. He growled in frustration at our retreating forms, as we reached the top of the stairs without disclosing anything. I returned to the seat I had used before while Carlisle took his desk chair. Apparently when Bella wasn't here, he had no problem with the whole talking deal. Once he was settled, he rested his forearms on the desk in front of him, leaning forward towards me and clasping his hands together. "What is she to you?" he asked bluntly. In these kinds of situations we usually had a no bullshit policy. Though the situations were usually involving a suspension or an arrest. And I had no problem with the no bullshit policy as far as that particular question was concerned. At least not now. She's my girl, I stated honestly with a casual shrug. No bullshit. Carlisle pursed his lips and bored his gaze into mine. Girlfriend? He asked skeptically. And I had no clue why he was so goddamn skeptical, like the idea of me having a girlfriend was so fucking hard to grasp. I rolled my eyes and nodded in confirmation. Though I much liked calling her my girl. He sighed and nodded, leaning back into his chair with a look of dread on his face as it got a little paler. How serious is it? He asked in a wary tone that clearly suggested he was afraid of the answer. I rolled my eyes at him once again, taking a guess at his implication. I'm not fucking her if that's what you mean, I muttered, shaking my head. He let out a deep breath of relief as the color returned to his face, and he relaxed into his chair further. I tried to bite back all the offense